When driving television first went to air over 5 years ago, one of the very first cars we reviewed was the Smart car. Well, fast forward 5 years, we're still around, and the Smart fortwo is still around, now in its second generation. There were some questions of whether the Smart would last because it was only sold in Canada, but now this year it's sold in the United States, and that'll ensure that it's going to be around for a while longer. This second generation fortwo is still the smallest car on the road, and you wouldn't know it to look at it, but it has actually grown slightly over the first model. It's longer, wider, and has a stretch wheelbase. Styling changes are subtle, with most people noticing new headlights and a smarter interior. Here's one thing about the Smart car. It's got plastic body panels, so if somebody hits you, you can take that panel off and put a new one on. It also offers the opportunity to actually change the color of your car if you get tired of red. There are 2 trim levels to choose from. The base models are called Pure, and the upper end models are called Passion. Both trim levels are offered in the Coupe, but the Cabriolet is only offered in the Passion. For this new generation, prices have dropped. The base Pure is $14,990, the Passion is $18,250, and the Cabriolet starts at $21,250. Now, the Cabriolet roof is pretty slick. First of all, it's fully automatic. You don't have to fight with it at all. You hit the button once, and it goes back to provide a massive sunroof. Hit it again, and the back pops down to make a full convertible. Visibility out the back isn't the best, though. Watch this, though. You release the side here, and you've got the side rails in your hand. You just walk around the back. You open up the tailgate, and they store perfectly back here. How cool is that? Same with the other side. Now, it's a wee car with a wee trunk, but you'd be surprised with the roof up how much stuff you can get back there. Since the engine is under the rear floor, this allowed the designers to use as much of the front of the car as possible for interior space. Now, the inside of the Smart is a marvel of interior design. It's a tiny car, but when you get inside, you forget that it's a tiny car. There is plenty of legroom, obviously with the convertible, lots of headroom, but even with the roof up, or if you get the coupe, tall people fit in, no problem. And when someone's sitting beside you, you don't actually feel squished. I have to applaud Smart and Mercedes-Benz for the materials they use in this car. I love that they have a fabric on the dash and on the doors. It's funky looking. I wish more car companies would do this instead of putting that cheap looking plastic on there. The seats have a funky European touch to them that I like as well. Now, they've changed the entire interior of this car. The dash is much more conventional. It's not as goofy as the first one. I like the big radio. They've integrated the heat actually into the vents, which is kind of different. Now, these two things up here, they look like eyeballs or antenna from a bug. They're optional on the base unit, but they are quirky, and it's kind of a tip of the hat to the original Smart fortwo. Well done. Standard equipment includes power windows and power door locks. There's a CD player and radio, but only 2 weak speakers. The front seats do not height adjust, and the steering wheel is not adjustable. I also wish there was an armrest for the driver. I would go for the slightly more expensive Passion version to get a better sound system, air conditioning, auxiliary jack, heated seats, and paddle shifters behind the leather-wrapped sport steering wheel. The biggest change with the second generation Smart fortwo is the fact that the diesel engine is gone, replaced by a regular gasoline engine. The 800cc diesel was loud, not that powerful, and would not meet the new stricter standards set out for diesel motors for 2009. That, plus the fact that this is the first Smart to be sold in the US, probably made them increase the size of the motor to 1 liter and increase the power. The Smart fortwo now has a whopping 70 horsepower, up from an anemic 40 horsepower. 70 horsepower, you're probably chuckling to yourself. You gotta remember, it's a little car. So it actually gets up and goes from a light, no problem. It feels perfectly at home in the city. Now, the biggest problem with the original Smart fortwo and this car is the transmission. It's just jerky. Not a lot has changed here. It's a manual, wait for it, automatic, which means that it's a manual transmission automatically shifted. So when you're in regular D mode, in between gears, there's this big jerk, And it really doesn't make this vehicle a whole lot of fun to drive. You can put it in manual mode and use the paddle shifters behind the wheel. Makes it a little bit better. What this vehicle's crying out for is a clutch and a regular old saw back and forth manual transmission. It would make it so much more fun to drive. On the highway, the Smart can keep up with traffic, but passing can be a bit of a hurry up and wait. This really is a car for the city with only short spurts on the highway. The driver sits up high, which gives a commanding view down the road. This gives the impression that the Smart is bigger than it looks. Handling is a bit top heavy, but maneuvering is a snap thanks to the short wheelbase. Parking, as you would expect, is also very easy. You can literally park anywhere. With the roof down, there is little to no wind inside the car, and the noise level is very low. Who makes Smart? Mercedes-Benz. You get a good long list of standard safety features like stability control, traction control, ABS, and hill hold. As I mentioned, it really is a manual transmission. The brakes, you push on the brake pedal, you don't get anything, and all of a sudden they start to grab, and then the transmission disengages and you get a little bit of a jerky feel. Plus, the way the pedal is set up, it hinges from the floor this way instead of from the top this way. That's a throwback to a Volkswagen Beetle or an old Porsche. As I mentioned, quirky car. The Smart fortwo is a quirky car, best left for single city dwellers or for companies that want to splash their logo down the side of an interesting car. For me, there are a lot of cars at this price point that offer more seats, more cargo capacity, better handling, and performance. So it's really up to you if the fortwo is a smart buy.
For complete specs, go to our website at drivingtelevision.com.